think I want to start by letting Judah channel a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the art of allowing. And we are going to have a time later in this time where we are actually going to do the work of allowing and letting go, releasing resistance around whatever is on your mind, whatever's going on with you. We will work specifically on that. You'll be able to bookmark that and come back to it in this video again in the future in order to use it again anytime you're feeling stuck or feeling like you're having a hard time releasing something going on with you. So look forward to that, and also some music and light language transmissions at the end. But let's begin by hearing from Judah. Hello, precious ones. Thank you for your presence. Whether you are here in this very moment of the recording or at some moment in the future, we see you. We know who you are. We know how many hairs are on your head. We know where you live. We know what matters to you, and we know who you matter to. And we are always watchful on your behalf, sending our love and guidance, bringing you opportunities to align with all that you are, the perfection of your soul, your enlightened state, removing things that are hindering you from the realization of who you are in your enlightened state. And so we look forward to this evening with you. Open your heart, open your mind, open your body, relax. If you are in a safe location, be as relaxed and meditative as you can. Receive these messages on a deep, emotional and cellular level, and allow yourself to receive what is even beyond what you hear in the words, and understand that the words have many energetic components within them. And so let all of this energy unfold in you, within you, as you hear the words, and may you be transformed into all you are meant to be in this life. And so be it. Good. All right, let's jump in, my friends, to the art of allowing. Chuck's going to help me. You just let me know when you want to jump in, okay? So we always talk about in this channel that there are two choices to make. In any moment, at any time, there are two choices to make: to love or to fear. To love or to fear. And so what does it look like to love, or to make the choice to love? It looks like accepting and allowing. It looks like giving the people around you in your environment freedom. It looks like accepting them, allowing them to be what they are, and accepting yourself and allowing yourself to be what you are. And what does fear look like? Well, fear looks like resisting. It looks like controlling. And so we know that if you guys, we put a link for you for the map of consciousness in the bottom in case you haven't encountered it yet. I hope that if you're getting together with us every Sunday, that you'll print this out and kind of have it at the ready and spend time with it anytime you're feeling challenged or within yourself or in a relationship. Visit this map of consciousness, see where you are, where the other is in your interchange, and think about how, and ask your guides how you can move yourselves up towards a more enlightened state. So when we're in these fear states of resisting and control, we're in that area under 200 on the map of scale of consciousness. We're in the survival paradigm. We're operating from our lower chakras below our heart chakra. And 80% of humanity operates in those lower realms all the time. And they don't know necessarily that they are. It's just a state of unawareness and unconsciousness. It's just the way of it when you're in that part of your journey. So fear and resisting, controlling, are in these lower realms. So tonight we're going to be talking about how to bring you up into this green space, which is your heart chakra space. And when you can bring yourself up out of the fear and control and resistance into this green space, which is the space of neutrality, the space of relaxed divine indifference, the space of letting go, then you begin to operate from your heart, and you're bringing that energy into your heart area. And then that is what bridges your journey towards love. Yes, Judah wants to talk about that. So this heart chakra space is the bridge between your human experience in the lower chakras and your experience of yourself as a spiritual being in the higher chakras, you see. And so many of you come to this vessel and you say, I would like to channel. I would like to do remote viewing. I would like to have my third eye open. I would like to hear angels speak to me audibly in my ears. I would like to see them with my physical eyes, and so on. And we understand this desire. It is a natural desire because you are spiritual beings. We would say, however, though, if you still have a lot of unresolved emotional energies and trauma and so on in your lower chakras from your human experience, if you try to bypass the heart, bypass the healing, skip over this bridge, which is the heart to your spiritual giftings, you will find a lot of dissonance, a lot of discord, and so on. Yes. And this kind of ties into a question that Glenn sent tonight. He said, does our limiting subconscious beliefs, which do not serve our soul's purpose, prevent our vibration from increasing? And I want to have Chuck talk to that. But before he does, I want to share a picture that Judah gave me when I read this question. Yes, so you see, my dears, all the resistance, all the obstacles, all the angst, fear, doubt, guilt, shame, these are like rocks in the river of who you are. Rocks in the river of who you are. So I want you to imagine yourself, your higher self, your soul, as a beautiful, moving river. And so the more rocks there are in this river, the more turbulence there will be, the more rapids, the more disturbances, and so on. And if there are none of these boulders, let's say, in the way, then the river flows ever so smoothly, ever so quietly, ever so gently. But the more of these obstacles of fear and doubt and unbelief and so on remain, the more disturbances and distortions will be in your being. So if you're longing to and reaching for these higher spiritual gifts, but you still have a lot of these lower chakra, we will call them boulders: hurt, pain, unforgiveness, guilt, shame, they will cause you to have a bumpy ride, a bumpy ride, you see. And so we're going to work with you tonight in order to begin removing some of these boulders from the riverbed of your being so that spirit can flow more smoothly, gently through your spiritual gifts with less disturbance. Good. All right, you want to talk about that? Should I read the question again? Or are you good?
No, I got the question. I'm just trying to come up with an analogy.
Okay.
Well, if you have an unconscious belief, say that everybody's going to try and cheat you out of money, therefore you better cheat them before they cheat you, that's going to hold down your level of consciousness. And so we get all kinds of programs that can do that. One is that life is hard, money is hard to get money. So if you're struggling to try and make enough money to make a living, it's very hard to be spiritual. If you need food on the table tomorrow, You're not going to say, well, I'm going to meditate today. I'll worry about the food tomorrow. No. So, money is energy,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives you freedom. Now, you don't have to have billions of it or even millions of it, but you need to have enough to keep you comfortable. And so, unconscious beliefs can prevent that from happening.
Mm-hmm.
And if other unconscious beliefs are given labels like ADHD, dyslexia. These labels are is a terrible thing to do to a child. You're telling them that there's something wrong with them. And so what happens is as they grow older, they think, well, I can't be successful because I have dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be successful because I'm ADHD. I can't sit still.
Mm-hmm.
So these are unconscious beliefs that hinder us from rising in consciousness. And so that's why it's so important to investigate and get rid of all those unconscious beliefs that no longer serve us,
Mm-hmm.
because we all have them. Um, the news has programmed us, the teachers have programmed us, doctors have programmed us. Doctors will say, well, you're going to have to be on this drug for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to be on this antidepressant for the rest of your life. Well, how are you going to raise your consciousness when you're drugged?
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some of the unconscious beliefs that we get programmed that prevent us from raising our consciousness. That's why it's so important to tell children positive things. You're amazing. You can do anything you want to do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Give them the unconscious programs that are not limiting but freeing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and help them to see that they're a co-creator with God.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're creators, and they can do anything that they put their mind to.
Right, exactly. And so back to, and again, on Glenn's question about our subconscious beliefs squelching or keeping our vibration down, you could inherit $1 million tomorrow and the money could be put in your bank account. But if you have a subconscious belief that you don't deserve good things, then you will ultimately lose that money and burn right through it. Go ahead.
There was a study done one time, and they went and studied people that won millions of dollars, and they went back 5 years later to see how they were doing. And at best, some of them would buy one house at one level up. If they had a $200,000 house, they might buy a $250,000 house. And they would have maybe bought a boat and a motorcycle and all this stuff, which were sitting in the yard deteriorating. Most of them didn't even quit the job that they had. And some of them put the money in the bank and didn't even spend any of it. You only have the amount of money that you believe you deserve to have.
Right.
You only have the amount of money you believe you deserve to have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Chuck made a really good point that it's difficult for us to be on a spiritual journey if we're still living in that survival paradigm, in that under 200 range. And so this is why you see a lot of white hairs like me and Chuck that have more freedom than to be on a spiritual path, because we've kind of had many years to sort through these lower realms and work through karma and get down the basics of life, like working and paying bills and providing for ourselves and things like that. And so once we've cleared through those things, then we have the freedom and the time and the energy for more spiritual pursuits.
Yes, there's some truth to that, but I went on my spiritual path when I was 22 years old.
Right.
And I was able to do everything I needed to do in order to grow spiritually.
Yes.
I worked for the money to get the money to do what I needed to do, yes. But it doesn't mean you have to wait till you have the money.
I agree. And don't wait till you're 30, 40, 50. Go ahead and do it while you're young. I agree. So back to allowing. So the resisting spaces are those spaces under 200 where we're in survival mode. And there can be a lot of fear and in those. And so how do we move into love? We get into that green space on the map, which is the heart chakra area. So the chakras do correlate there on the map. So how are we going to move up into love? So the green space is where allowing happens. And it is the space of allowing, and allowing is the action that keeps our heart open and opens up the higher realms for us as well, the spiritual higher areas. So a lot of us want to go straight to the goodies. We want the clairvoyance, the clairaudience, the channeling, and all that, but we can't skip the heart. And so what does the heart want? The heart wants to love and to be loved. To love and to be loved. That's what the heart wants. And all fears, I'm finding for me, all my fears orient around this one thing, the fear that I won't be loved. And so this fear causes suffering and instability, right? And so meditation is really a key to being centered in our heart energy. Centered in our heart energy. So if you read studies about meditation, what you find is that it brings us into this parasympathetic nervous system, which is where our body opens up and begins to grow and repair, to rest and to process and digest things in our life. So this system is in control. This parasympathetic nervous system is in control when we're relaxed, we're neutral, we're open, we're in that green heart chakra space, we're allowing, and we're not engaged with environmental stressors. Now, the sympathetic nervous system is in high gear. It's in high gear when we're in fight or flight. We can be in the sympathetic nervous system from two different sources, from our internal thoughts. The thoughts of our fearful mind can trigger this sympathetic nervous system, or it can be triggered by external environmental stressors. A quick story about fight or flight. When my kids were little, one day I heard my neighbor shouting, and I went to the door and went outside, and I saw her standing in my yard and then in my driveway shouting at my kids. Evidently, my kids had made faces at her or something like that. And so immediately that sympathetic nervous system is, and I'm in fight mode, right? Because somebody is screaming at my kids. And I stepped up and made myself as tall as a mountain. And I firmly but nicely told her to get out of my yard and off of my property. So these are the two modes that we can be in: the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight, or the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest, growth and repair. And meditation is where we learn to bring ourselves into this parasympathetic nervous system. Do you want to talk about those two before I go on? Chuck is the pro on this stuff.
Okay, well, I do see it just a little bit different. We are supposed to be in growth and repair, yes. And then a trauma happens and we go into fight or flight. And then after the trauma and everything is settled down, we're supposed to go back into growth and repair. So we're in and out of growth and repair and fight or flight, depending on how stressful and what kind of traumas happen to our life. But most of us are in growth and repair, say 95% of the time or 90% of the time. But one of the things about meditation that can help you and make sure that you don't get into that is stress is one of the things that is killing us, and stress is the thing that puts us in the fight or flight. So every day, if we're leading a stressful life, stress builds up. So every day there's more, the stress builds and builds and builds and builds. And after months, years, or whatever of the stress building up, finally our body says we can't take it anymore and gives us a symptom to try and wake us up. Now, what meditation does is if we meditate every day and we release that stress of the day, then the stress never builds up. And then our body doesn't need to give us a symptom to show us, to try and teach us. Now, what's happened lately, this is a very interesting thing. Years ago, maybe 25, 30 years ago, the Palladians taught me about how to get people who were stuck in fight or flight out of fight or flight. Mm-hmm. So post-traumatic stress syndrome is somebody who's stuck in fight or flight.
Right.
So how can you get stuck in fight or flight? If you have a major trauma, like a soldier might have, you can get stuck in fight or flight.
Mhm.
If you have a series of traumas,
Mhm.
then you can get stuck in fight or flight. The unconscious mind, the ANS, the autonomic nervous system, is the one who's responsible for you being in fight or flight or not in fight or flight. So if you see a bear and you don't think consciously, there's a bear, bears eat humans, there's my cabin, I better run to my cabin. No, it's automatic. ANS, autonomic nervous system, has you running or fighting automatically. So we don't do that consciously. Now, what can happen is if we have a major traumatic event, our body unfortunately doesn't know time. So what happens after that, it's like, oh, well, one day we were walking down the street and we were happy and everything was great. It was a sunny day, and all of a sudden a car hits me. So now, even though that was 5 years ago, it's like, well, one day when I was happy and walking down the street, a car hit me. So I better stay in fight or flight. So then they get into post-traumatic stress syndrome. Now, the other label to that doctors call it is dysautonomia syndrome, dysfunctional autonomic nervous system. Now, they don't know how to cure that, but the Pleiadians gave me a technique for doing that. Now, up until 2020, I probably saw maybe 20 people a year who were stuck in fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
These were people who would come to me and say, I've seen 10 doctors, nobody can help me. I've done all the medicines, they don't work.
Right, because the body can't heal when it's in that state.
The body's not going to heal when you're in fight or flight.
Right.
When you're running away from a bear, the brain doesn't say, let's heal that stomach flu.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens then is, I forget where I was now. So when you get stuck into fight or flight, the ANS, you're unconscious, you're there unconsciously, so you're not aware of that. Now, so 4 or 5 years later, like I said, your body doesn't know time, so you're stuck in it. Now, what's happened after 2020 with COVID was up until, like I said, 2020, I saw maybe 15 people a year, and that's why I got a reputation with doctors as being able to handle the tough cases, because this is one of the things I could do that would heal people they couldn't heal. Now, 2020 came along, and COVID and other things, the war and so much stress, that I started seeing lots of people stuck in fight or flight. COVID long haulers were people who were stuck in fight or flight. Why? What happened was the body saw a different type of bug that it's never seen before, and so it panicked. Am I going to be able to heal this? What is this? What's it going to do to me? And so they went into fight or flight, and some people got stuck in it, and they became a long hauler because they couldn't get well of all the symptoms they had when they had COVID. The other thing is, so in the last 3 years, I've probably seen at least 500 people who were in fight or flight, stuck in fight or flight. In the last year, I've seen at least 25 teenage girls who were stuck in fight or flight. The biggest symptom they had was severe anxiety. So why, and maybe 4 or 5 boys, but mostly girls. Why girls? Because they have an open heart. During COVID, they liked to socialize. They couldn't socialize. There was a bunch of trash on the internet that they would read, and there's a war going on, and everybody was wearing a mask. And so they were in fight or flight, and they got stuck in it because they were in it for a long time. I had this one 12-year-old girl. She was sick 3 months in a row, got some kind of bug, and then on the 4th month, she got COVID. And her mother called me up, and it had been 2 months, and she got over COVID. And she was so sick she couldn't get out of bed. She was dizzy and nauseous and couldn't get out of bed. The doctors had put her in the hospital for 2 nights to try and figure out what was going on. They labeled her dysautonomia syndrome, but said, we don't know what to do about it. We can't heal her. So she called me up and asked if I could help. I said, absolutely. I know exactly what this is. She brought her in. And because she had 4 traumas in a row, after having it 4 times in a row, our autonomic nervous system said, hey, this just keeps happening. Let's stay prepared. Let's stay in fight or flight. So I was able to get her out of the fight or flight, and she's fine. She's been fine ever since.
Thank you. All right. So tonight we're all about moving ourselves out of this fight or flight state into our heart chakra through allowing, so that then we can move up into these higher gifts that we're wanting to ignite. So, meditation and self hypnosis are powerful tools to help us enter this parasympathetic state, to get calm, to slow down our breath, to help us release resistant, negative, compulsive thinking, to let go of whatever it is that we're afraid of. So, the opposite of allowing is resistance. And on resistance, a lot of times I'll hear you guys say, but wait. How can I allow things that I don't want? How can I say, in meditation that I'm going to let go of wanting and needing my kids to be safe? I can't let go of wanting and needing my kids to be safe. But so the reason why we have to allow for these things is, I hear you guys as your arguments are, well, shouldn't I resist suffering? Shouldn't I resist evil? Shouldn't I resist pain? Shouldn't I fight for what is right? Fight against war? Fight against racism? Shouldn't I resist these things that I don't want? But the problem with resistance is, even when it comes in a good package and it seems to be fighting for the underdog or fighting for a just cause, the problem is that the energy behind that is fear. It is control. And so we've all heard this phrase, whatever we resist persists. What we resist persists. So if we're coming with this attitude of resistance, or the energy of resistance, then that energy is fear. And fear can only attract more fear. Fear can never attract love. Love attracts love. Fear attracts fear. So this is why it's so important that we come into this place of allowing. Now, Chuck was talking about getting stuck in fight or flight. In my COVID long haul experience, he worked so diligently to keep resetting my body and teaching my body to stay in growth and repair. And as I was, meditating and doing my own interior work around it, one of the things that I did, which is a practice we're going to do together here tonight, is I would say to myself in meditation, can I allow myself to be healthy? Can I allow myself to be sick? Can I allow myself to be healthy? Can I allow myself to be unhealthy? So the way I had to, with Chuck's help with the acupuncture, but the way I had to do my part in my work is to teach my mental, emotional, physical state to stop resisting the disease, to stop resisting healing. And so it didn't sound logical to my mind to say, well, that's ludicrous. Why should I say, could I allow myself to be unhealthy? Of course I don't want to be unhealthy. But the truth was, somewhere in my subconscious mind, there was a part of me that didn't want to be healthy. And of course, I hated to admit that because it sounds crazy, but it was true, because I was a 40-something woman that had raised 3 kids and worked 2 jobs for many, many years, and I was exhausted. And so it was kind of cool on some level to be sick and just not have to take care of anybody anymore, right? Just to let it all go. And so I had to admit to myself there was some part of my subconscious mind that did not want to be well. So you keep working on both sides of the issue in this green space to allow whatever is. Could I allow myself to be healthy? Can I allow myself to be unhealthy? Go ahead, sweetie.
So when you were saying a little bit earlier about going out and trying to change the world, there's a very, very important saying. I used to go out and do things to try and change the world, and then I learned that I changed the world by changing myself.
Right, exactly. So you see, there's this big lie that the ego tells us. Remember this. This is the big lie it tells us. It says, fear, hello, I'm fear, and I'm your friend. I'm your BFF. I'm your best fear friend. I'm your best friend forever. And the reason is because I'm going to protect you from what you don't want. And so we fall into alliances with fear in our inner being through this promise, this fake, nasty promise that fear makes us that it's going to keep us safe from being hurt. And in the reality is the opposite is true, because your ego will spend all your fear energy resisting what is. And it will exhaust you with this task of resistance. You'll be like Sisyphus in the Greek mythology, trying to push that boulder up the mountain. And every time you almost get to the top and it just crushes you, you get crushed underneath the boulder and have to start over again. So this fear energy of resisting what is exhausting your mental, physical, emotional state. And the action of fear and resistance is control. And we will say, actually, it's an attempt to control, because the truth is, we have very little control over most things. Go ahead.
I like to think of it as fear kills love and love transforms fear.
Mm-hmm. So instead of resisting, what are we going to do? We're going to remove the victim. So if you're being literally, not mentally, but literally victimized by a situation, you remove yourself calmly, gently as you can, as gently and calmly as you have the grace for. And if you don't, that's fine too. I years ago, when things would trigger me, I learned to get outside and go for a walk around the block. And sometimes I could quietly, calmly say, I'm going for a walk, and go out and have my walk and burn off some of that inner resistant fear energy. Other times, I just had to slam the door on the way out. So whatever you need to do, remove the victim. Then try to remember, as much as you have the grace, to not to take it personally. Don't take it personally. Whatever other people are saying and doing really has nothing to do with you, right? And then, how can you take back your power? Take back your power and give the other person back their power. You take back your power, give them back their power, right? Their freedom. Allow them to be who and what they are. And then you be who and what you are, and be true to who and what you are. And welcome whatever is. So, see, we have some problems with manifesting. So, I'm going to call this manifestation constipation. Have you ever you really want something, you're saying all the mantras, you're doing all the meditation, you're doing your vision board and all of that, but you're just not, you keep manifesting stuff you don't want, sometimes even the opposite of what you want. Why is that? Because there's some resistance. There's some resistance, maybe likely on a subconscious level. And so manifestation constipation stems from this resistance and from this attitude we have inside of taking and keeping. It feels contracted. So when you feel contracted, when you feel this temptation to take and keep and hold on and resist and control, then you know that you're in those lower realms and you want to come back up into the heart. And you're in an allowing mode, you're giving, you're receiving, you're open. And then in this allowing space, life just naturally brings to you what you want. Yes, life naturally bringing to you what you want when you're in this allowing space. Good. Did you have something?
Oh, I just another way of saying that about manifesting. So there's 3 steps to manifesting. Number 1 is having a clear desire on what it is you want. Number 2, it's none of your business, and that's how the universe decides to give that to you. But number 3, this is where allowing comes in, is allowing it to happen, because too many times we do not allow it to happen, either because of an unconscious belief we don't deserve to have a new car or whatever. We do not allow it.
So here we go. Let's get down to the work of getting free of your inner resistance. And this inner resistance will feel like a no, feel like a no. It feels like a contraction, maybe a tightness in your chest, in your heart chakra area. Many times when this vessel is working with you all, each and all, she may say to you, ask with your inner voice. Ask with your inner voice, fear, would you like to go? You can even do that right now. Go ahead and ask with your inner voice, fear, would you like to go? And you will likely hear a yes. And then let it pass right up and out of your being, the energy of it, because it is only energy. It is only energy. So you let it pass. So, first, be aware. This is the first step to allowing. Be aware of whether or not you are in this resistant state or in an allowing state. And then notice it and welcome it. Say, oh, look, here I am. Ha ha ha. Here I am. I'm resisting. I'm attempting to control. I'm attempting to take and keep and hold things to myself. And this is me. Ah ha ha ha. There's my ego. There's my ego. There's my ego engaging in conflict and drama and resistance and wanting to be right. And you can do like this vessel says, if you're in a spiritual partnership. Hopefully you're living in a spiritual partnership. If you're not, you may still find a graceful and clever way to work with your partner or a friend who can also be a spiritual partner in this manner. This vessel, many times when she knows she's blowing it and her ego's taken over, the ego sometimes will want to push you over into the passenger seat and take the wheel. And then it's taking you on a not joy ride. And so and you may feel at times that you simply have lost control and you can't take the wheel in that moment. And so when this happens to this vessel, she will say to her partner, this is my ego. I know it's my ego. And right now I can't help it. And so be it. And so be it. As we said last week through this vessel, so what? So what? So let the ego have its joy ride. And when it's done and it's crashed you on the side of the road, get out and dust yourself off and begin again. And hopefully no harm done, right? And if some harm is done, you do the best you can to make restitution to others, but you simply forgive yourself. And so allow yourself, see, when you see the resistance, just welcome it. Say, oh, here's the resistance. I welcome it because it's showing me something that I need to let go of. It's showing me something. It's showing me a subconscious belief. It's showing me an area that I can grow in. So I welcome it. I welcome it. I welcome it. Yes. And so be aware. Are you in the ego state of resistance or the realm of the soul, which is allowing? And the soul wants to embrace everything at all times with grace and ease and flow, and sees everything as an opportunity for gratitude, as an opportunity to be more of itself, of its true and higher self. And the soul is always saying yes to everything, even the things that seem unpleasant, and even the things that the ego brings. The soul will say, okay, yes, I will embrace this challenge, this conflict, because I am bringing all that I am to the altar of my soul. And all that I am on the altar of my soul will burn as a sweet and fragrant incense. Good. Good. And then a second strategy for allowing. Yes.
Say something about
Sure.
awareness. So awareness is the key. When you become aware of something you're doing that doesn't serve you, yes, if you can't stop it, that's fine. But it's the awareness that ultimately will cure that. So awareness is like the light. When you shine light into darkness, the darkness disappears.
And if you are in a spiritual partnership, I really would encourage you to just kind of have an understanding that you can say, with Chuck, I will say sometimes when my ego's kind of taken over, I'll say, this is my ego. And that helps him to have a little more grace and to know how to help me navigate it, right? Without coddling it. And that's one of the things that's helped me to grow so fast, is that Chuck really refuses to coddle my ego. That's one of the things we do with each other that doesn't serve us well, is that we give each other's ego a free pass, or we comfort or patronize the ego instead of bringing in awareness of it and just calling it for what it is. So the second tool that I have for you tonight on allowing is a mantra. And the mantra is, if it can come, let it come. And if it goes, let it go. If it can come, let it come. And if it can go, let it go. And I've taken this from a passage from Lao Tzu that says, the master acts without doing anything. Things arise and she lets them come. Things disappear and she lets them go. And this is how you know that you are living free, living free, living free. You see, you might get that new car and enjoy it. And then perhaps there is an accident and the car is totaled. And then you can let it go. You see, you let it come, you let it go. And the same is true with relationships. If someone comes to you and longs for a loving relationship with you, then so be it. Love them. And if they go, let them go. Let them go. Yes. I know, I remember one time hearing Wayne Dyer talk about his 30-year marriage. His wife came to him at a point and let him know that she wanted to begin a new life with someone else. And the way he shared about it, there was so much grace. He said, of course, if she wants to have a new life with someone else, she has every right. And that just really struck me. We have so much resistance around letting go of relationships. When there's divorces, we say, oh, we feel like a failure, right? Divorce is like a dirty word. It's really not. If someone comes into our life, we receive them, we enjoy them. And then when they go, we send them with a blessing, right? That's allowing. So I want to tell you, before we start this, dig in on this exercise that you're going to be able to use over and over, I want to tell you that I've learned some of the things that I use with you guys from what has been called the Sedona method, and it's been around for 40 years. So it is a tried and true strategy. And there are 3 guys that I want to credit for their work, deep work with this method. And they're Lester Levinson, Lawrence Crane, and Hale Dwoskin. And it's just my personal opinion that Hale Dwoskin is an enlightened being. And their work has been really, I use this stuff all the time in my daily life for my own personal growth. So we're going to jump in and do some of this together. So this Sedona method is basically a method of self-inquiry. And I've kind of adapted it with Judah in my own unique way and use it all the time with you guys. And I call it the Getting Free game. So we've got our own little tweaks and differences, but it still has arisen from this method called the Sedona method. So let's do it together. You ready? So I want you to scan your current life. And I want you to think about an area. Let it just arise really intuitively where there's resistance, where there's pushback, where it feels like you're driving the car with your foot on the accelerator and on the brake at the same time. Got it? Got that area? Okay, good. And could you just welcome this resistance? And could you welcome that feeling of angst, of discomfort, of fear? Could you welcome your frustration about this thing that you're thinking of, this circumstance, this relationship? Good. Judah's going to help us here. Could you welcome this resistance? Can you embrace it? And who is observing the resistance? Who is it that is able to watch the resistance, to be aware of it? That is who you are. And could you just allow it? Could you allow this? Could you allow your feelings of sadness around this? Could you allow yourself the grief? Could you witness the feeling, the belief of lack that you have in regard to this sadness? Could you witness it? And could you allow yourself to feel your fear as a physical energy running through your body? Could you allow yourself the fear? And who is it that is witnessing the fear? And who is it that is witnessing the temptation to control, the temptation to do something, to understand something, to know something? Could you let go of wanting and needing to feel sad about this? Could you let go of wanting and needing to change something about it, to have it be something other than what it is? Could you let go of needing to believe in lack and separation? And could you let go of wanting and needing to control this, to change it, to have it be something other than what it is? And if you feel frustrated, if you feel angry, could you just allow that? Allow it. Allow what you're feeling. And could you just be what you are? Could you just be what you are? And could you let it go? Could you let go of your sadness? Could you let go of your identity as the sad girl or the sad man? Could you let go of wanting and needing to feel sad or victimized? Could you let go of your attachment to the outcome that you want? Could you let go of wanting and needing the situation to resolve in the way that you feel is best? Could you let go of what you feel is best? Could you say, I don't know? Could you welcome not knowing the answers? Could you welcome not knowing the answers? Could you allow yourself to not know what to do and to be okay with not knowing? Good. And could you just let it go? And would you let it go? And when would you let it go? And could you allow the resistance? Could you feel it? Could you allow it and feel it and know that it is not really you, that it's emanating from your mind, and that who you are is completely and perfectly at peace? Could you allow yourself to be at peace? Could you allow the real you that is at peace to simply witness the resistance, to witness it and then release it? Good. And are you the one that is resisting? Or are you the one that is aware of the ego's resistance? As we shared with you last week, it's not your ego, it is the ego. It is a program. It is only a program. It is not who you are. So resistance is reactivity from, it is your conditioned response to what is. That stems from a fear that you will not be loved and that things will not turn out okay. But the truth is, if you really, really, really think about it, everything always works out for you, does it not? Yes, it does. Good. So there's 3 questions that I found from the early works from way back in the 80s. Could you give up wanting and needing control? Could you give up wanting and needing approval? And could you give up wanting and needing to be safe? And for me personally, I have never yet encountered any experience, whether it's in my external environment or my internal environment, that I could not come into allowing and releasing with those 3 questions. So if you will meditate with those 3 questions, could I let go of wanting and needing control? Could I let go of wanting and needing approval? Could I let go of wanting and needing to be safe? And if you will keep working with those questions in a meditative state until you feel your nose get softer and softer and softer, and they'll turn into a yes finally. And when they turn into a natural, easy, honest yes, then you know you've truly released it and you're in that heart space of allowing. Now, when you get to a place, this is what Judah has taught us, where you live consistently in this heart space, open heart of allowing, no resistance on a consistent basis, then your spiritual gifts will just start pop, 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 popping. Your throat chakra, your third eye, your crown chakra, and you'll start having those angelic visitations and channeled messages and supernatural gifts will just fall right into line. Because the truth is, we do not have any blocks from here to here in our spiritual gifts. The blocks are in our heart and below. And tonight you learned a great strategy for how to get rid of these blocks.